Look at any photograph from 1955 America, a church parking lot on Sunday morning, a grocery store on Friday, women in cotton dresses at a July block party, standing around a tray of deviled eggs. Look at the women. Not Grace Kelly in her Helen Rose wedding gown. Not Mamie Eisenhower hosting a state dinner at the White House in her signature pink. The ordinary women, the one outside the store with 2 bags cutting into her arms, the one at the fence talking to her neighbor, the one on the porch waiting for the kids to come up the walk. None of them are heavy, not one. An entire nation of women eating pot roast with gravy, putting real butter on everything, baking their own bread, having pie on Sunday, and not one of them counting a calorie. Not one of them is trying. That is not a coincidence. And somebody knew it. In 1960, the average American woman weighed 140 pounds. Today, she weighs 170 pounds. 30 pounds in 60 years, without anyone agreeing to it, without anyone knowing exactly when it happened, without anyone giving their consent. She did not diet to stay at 140. She did not have a gym membership, a food journal, a step counter, or a protein supplement. She ate everything on the table. She stayed there her entire adult life. What was she doing? This is not a story about discipline. It is a story about a world that was built around her. A world where staying healthy was simply what happened when you lived an ordinary life. And it is the story of what happened to that world, who changed it, and what they put in its place. Walk into a 1955 American supermarket. The smell hits you first. Flour and coffee and the wax on the linoleum. The shelves are orderly and not particularly full. The average grocery store of that era carried around 4,000 items. Pillsbury flour from the red bag, a can of Campbell's tomato soup, a block of cheese, whatever was on the butcher's counter that morning, a bunch of celery. Almost everything was a raw material, an ingredient that required a kitchen and 40 minutes, and someone who knew what to do with it. The thing you bought was not the meal. The meal came later. That was understood. Today's supermarket carries around 40,000 items. Most of them are what food scientists now call ultra-processed products, designed specifically to override the saturation signal the human brain sends after a real meal. Designed so that stopping feels like a choice you have to make, rather than something your body tells you. She didn't buy those things because they didn't exist. She bought 12 things, went home, and made dinner from them. The grocery store was 12 things and some arithmetic. And it stayed that way until someone realized 40,000 things generated more margin than 12. And once you understand what the kitchen did with those 12 things every night, the rest of this story starts to make sense. The most important sentence in this film is this one. The kitchen closed after dinner, not locked, not forbidden, simply done for the day, the way a shop closes when the proprietor turns the sign. She washed the dishes, put the food away, wiped down the counter, and the kitchen became a room again rather than a resource. Nobody needed willpower to avoid the kitchen at 10 o'clock at night. There was nothing engineered to pull them back, no individually wrapped portions designed to disappear without counting, no pantry organized by a marketing team to ensure that simply opening it produced an impulse. The kitchen was closed because the world had not yet built the infrastructure to require it to be open. That closed kitchen enforced a gap between dinner and breakfast of 10 to 12 hours every single night, without anyone calling it a fast, without anyone understanding its significance, without anyone choosing it. 21st century research on time-restricted eating has documented that this kind of consistent overnight gap, the gap that was simply how a house worked in 1955, measurably stabilizes body weight without any change to what is eaten or how much. She was doing it every night. She didn't know she was doing it. It was just how the day ended. No one noticed it was working until the infrastructure that made it automatic was gone. The lunch counter at Woolworths, 1957. She sat on a vinyl stool, ordered a tuna melt and a coffee, and stayed for 30 minutes. Nobody was eating and doing something else at the same time. That was not a luxury. That was just what lunch was. She did not eat in the car, at her desk, or walking down the street. These were not rules she followed. They were social norms, so complete that violating them would have seemed not unhealthy, not self-indulgent, simply strange. You did not eat on the street the way you did not wear a bathrobe to the hardware store. It was not about food. It was about where things belonged. Eating was a seated act. It had a table, a chair, a beginning, and an end. When the plate was clean, the meal was finished. You were done until the next one. When eating requires a table and deliberate time, you eat meaningfully less, not from virtue, from architecture. The architecture changed. Nobody asked if it should. Nothing on this list so far was a choice she made. Not the grocery store with 4,000 things, not the kitchen that closed at 8, not the table where meals had a beginning and an end. These were facts about the world she lived in, features of the environment she moved through every day. She did not choose them any more than she chose the weather. The question is not why she did it. The question is what changed, who changed it, and whether they understood what they were taking away when they did. Her children walked to school, both ways, every day, including January. They came home in the afternoon, set their bags down, and went outside. Nobody organized it. No parent drove them to a scheduled activity. They went outside because that was where children went. And they came home when the streetlights came on, filthy and so hungry it was almost the best part of the day. In 1969, 48% of American children walked or biked to school every day. By 2009, that number had fallen to 13%. The children in those photographs were not athletes. They had no concept of their cardiovascular health and would have been confused by the question. They were just outside, moving the way children moved, because the alternative had not been built yet, and their mothers were on their feet from the time they got up, carrying laundry to the line, walking to the butcher and the baker, and back with everything in their arms, running the household in a way that required their bodies to be present for it, standing in it, moving through it, doing it with their hands. No one called this exercise. It had no name. It was just Tuesday. Her neighborhood was her gym. It had no monthly fee, no parking lot, and no cancellation policy. It just had distances that needed to be covered on foot, every day, whether or not she felt like it. What happened to those distances is the next part of the story, and it starts not with the car. It starts with what arrived in her living room. Before television arrived, the evening after dinner was quiet. She sewed, or read, or sat on the porch with a cup of Folgers while her husband read the paper. On Tuesday nights, the television was on for I Love Lucy, all 30 minutes, and then it went off. On Sunday evenings, Ed Sullivan. Saturday night, Lawrence Welk. The children did their homework at the kitchen table and went to bed. The house ran down after 9 o'clock, and there was no reason to go back to the kitchen because nothing was calling from it. By 1960, 90% of American homes had a television. And with the television came not 30 minutes of Ed Sullivan, but 3 hours of programming, back to back, every night of the week. The evening got stiller. She sat longer. The room where the refrigerator lived was just down the hall. The snack food industry understood this before nutritionists did. A person sitting still in front of a screen for 3 hours is a person whose hands are idle and whose sense of how much time has passed has been suspended. What the idle hand reaches for, the industry would provide, in single-serving bags designed to disappear without counting, in flavors engineered to override the saturation signal before it arrived. The television didn't make her eat. It created the conditions under which eating became the natural companion to the evening, an evening that in 1952 had contained no such companion, and no product waiting to fill it. When I made the diet video, some of you left comments I have not been able to stop thinking about. One of you wrote this: I was born in 1966. My mum was born in 1934. She was a tiny woman. Her hip bones protruded through her pencil skirt. She liked her figure that way. I was the youngest of 5 children. She ate only at meal times. No snacking. She lived off of black coffee and Lucky Strike cigarettes. 504 people liked that comment. Every one of them recognized that woman. She was not describing a diet trick. She was describing a world, and she was pointing at the part of it that this film has deliberately left out. That part deserves its own video. It is coming. But first, the 1970s. In 1977, the United States Senate told her to eat less fat. She did. She threw out the butter and bought margarine. She switched from whole milk to skim. She reached for the box with low fat on the label because the government had said fat was the problem, and she had no reason to think the government was lying to her. She was doing exactly the right thing. She was certain of it. What she didn't know, what almost no one would know for 40 more years, was that the scientific record underneath those guidelines had been bought. In September 2016, a paper published in JAMA Internal Medicine found internal documents the sugar industry had kept buried. In 1965, the Sugar Research Foundation, the research arm of the American sugar industry, paid 3 Harvard scientists $6,500, equivalent to roughly $50,000 today, to publish a review in the New England Journal of Medicine. The 1967 review concluded that the evidence linking sugar to heart disease was limited. It shifted the scientific conversation toward fat as the villain. The funding was not disclosed. The New England Journal of Medicine did not require disclosure of research funding until 1984, 17 years after the review ran. One of those 3 Harvard researchers was D. Mark Hegsted. He later became head of nutrition at the United States Department of Agriculture. He helped draft the 1977 dietary goals she was following. She was not following bad advice because she was naive. She was following advice that had been arranged for her. The industry that had spent years shifting blame onto fat had a solution ready: high fructose corn syrup, a cheap sweetener made from surplus American corn, was approved by the Food and Drug Administration in 1983, adopted by Coca-Cola and Pepsi in 1984, and inserted into nearly every packaged product on the shelf. It went into the Heinz ketchup, the Wonder Bread, and the Yoplait yogurt she bought because the label said it was healthy and low fat. The kitchen's infrastructure, the 12 ingredients, the fixed meal times, the closed pantry had already dissolved. What replaced it was faster, cheaper, and engineered to keep her buying. The freedom and the erosion arrived in the same package. There was no way to take one without the other. She gained weight for the first time in her adult life, and nobody in any official position ever told her why. Look at that photograph again. She is not special. She does not have better genetics than you, or more discipline, or a secret she was taught, and you were not. She has a grocery store with 4,000 items, all of them ingredients. She has a kitchen that closes after dinner because nothing has been engineered to require it open. She has children outside until dark because inside is not yet an option. She has a table where meals happen, with a beginning and an end. She has an evening where the hands stay busy, with no screen and no product designed to fill the quiet. She did not count a single calorie. She did not track a single step. She did not read a nutrition label or follow a meal plan or subscribe to anything the wellness industry now tells you is necessary to maintain what she maintained without once thinking about it. Another viewer wrote under the diet video that it is infuriating to think I've struggled my entire life to control my weight when everything we were told was wrong on purpose to make money. 295 people liked that comment because it is true. We did not lose our discipline. Someone took the world that made discipline unnecessary and replaced it with something they could sell us instead. If that landed somewhere, if it felt like something you already knew but couldn't quite name, subscribe. Next time, we'll go to another place she lived. A table set for 6. Something on the stove since noon. A kitchen that smells like nothing you can order. I'll see you there.